Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to the World of Madness series here with Dungeon Maker, and it's night, and I don't usually record videos in the dark, but on this island that's probably fine. I just noticed there's a piece of glass missing here. Huh, I'm going to fix that. But the pumpkin farm is working. It's not 100% complete because it takes a lot of iron and a lot of, nether quartz to finish this place, but it's at about halfway, and that's pretty good, I'd say. It's actually working pretty dang well. We have a pretty decently significant supply of pumpkins just coming in. Not at breakneck speeds, but pumpkin and melon farms don't tend to scale like with speed very much, so it's pretty much just a matter of having enough to have a constant supply. But we have some interesting developments for this particular episode. I did say, I have been promising it in the comments section, we are going to be working on the cottage today. There is going to be some work there. But first, we naturally have wings. Everybody's been to the end. Pretty much everybody has elytra wings now. So the next thing that people are really after is a reliable source of rockets. And of course, to make a single flight duration free rocket, well, actually to make 3 of them by the crafting recipe, you need 3 pieces of gunpowder. And there's not really a solution for that on the server at the moment. We have our piddly little sugarcane farm over here, and that's working decently well. I'm not a huge fan of how it works, but nonetheless it works. And that gets us the 1 paper we need for every 3 rockets. Slowly, eventually, but it works. It's very simple. I don't know if I've shown this off in a video, but it's just observers and then pistons and a redstone line, and the reason I'm not a fan of it is because as soon as one of them grows to this height, all of them trigger, so if there was one that was stuck at 2, and it was a hair second away from going up to 3, you still don't get that new one. So I would prefer these to be firing individually, but que sera, sera. And yeah, so the next thing that people really need is a bulk solution for gunpowder, perhaps a bulk solution for rockets themselves. And Kreiser has been lucky enough to find himself an exceedingly rare, he's literally got the 1, I believe, creeper spawner. We can find those in the deserts here on World of Madness very, very occasionally. And it works. Doesn't care how many people are on the server, but it's very, 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 very slow. So I have a different solution, which is pretty small, but actually kind of already pretty dang effective. So here we have this bow tie shape is actually a creeper spawner, and occasionally a spider, because for some reason that happens. But we have a lot of gunpowder now, probably closing in on more than we'll ever need. And we actually already have, like, a sale, because Drad had to stop by at one point in the fairly recent history, and needed some firework rockets to get back home. So he just grabbed some gunpowder and left 16 diamonds, and we're gonna come back to that in a little bit here. But yeah, this is going to be our main thing for today. We will be working on the cottage today. I am not going back on that. But we're also going to be doing this. And this island technically shouldn't exist, because this is actually an ocean biome up here. There is no beach, there is no plains, nothing. This is actually 100% ocean biome. This shouldn't exist, but it's here anyway, so we're going to use it. And I think this is a perfect spot for a nice kind of scenic lighthouse. And with the size of this little spawner, might actually work out pretty nicely if we have the interior of the lighthouse just be that. And yes, that noise that you just heard was in fact a cat. If we open up here, yeah, there we go. And there's a spider, yeah, just dealing, being a menace. There we go. Okay. So this little design in here actually needs a little bit of a tweaking, because nope, not what I meant to do. That one. It actually needs to be quite a bit smaller than it needs to be, but basically the way this works is these carpets ostensibly stop spiders from spawning. I think I might need one like right here to really prevent it, but that also messes with pathing, so I'm not really hoping. I'm hoping I can avoid that part, or just, I guess, dealing with the occasional spider. And then these trapdoors, little known fact, creepers are slightly shorter than your typical mob. They're actually more or less about the size we are. And that means that in here, skeletons and zombies can't spawn. Endermen can't spawn, naturally. And creepers can. So in here, creepers are pretty much, with the exception of the occasional spider, the only thing that can spawn. Then, creepers are afraid of cats. We now have cats because they spawn around our villages. And if we have some cats just sitting here, then pretty much when they spawn, they immediately flee to be at least 6 blocks away from our cats. And that's why there's these blocks around the outsides, because this is actually slightly too wide when I originally built it. Now, these blocks, these little, like, stone, no, these dirt blocks around the edges and such, make it so that pretty much the only space that's 6 blocks away is over here in the pit. And because of these trapdoors, the creepers think that this is actually solid terrain that they can stand on. So as soon as a creeper spawns, it dives way over to here and straight down to this pit where it dies and then drops us all of its lovely gunpowder. And as long as we're way up there, this is the only place on the server that mobs can spawn. Now, there's also, like, some caves. There's not really that many caves underneath. If we go down further, like, we don't actually have to go all the way up there, but it's nice to have good rates, especially when it's this small. But as a consequence, things go down there, creepers die, hoppers pick them up, a dropper auto spits them out, not unlike our disposal system at the grinder, and up they come, and this little redstone light turns up whenever they actually, like, pass through the hopper in here to get into the chest. So I have a little, I have a little icon when I'm way up there, telling me, yes, this is actually working. It's nice. But anyways, I'm gonna tidy this up, and we're gonna add a few more layers to this, and the next episode we are definitely gonna be seeing about selling some of this. But first, my other piece of good news. We have replay mod. It finally updated. I can do fun time lapses again. Okay, so let's break that in with a quick little simple one for just building this. Well, here we are, and we have a grand total of 8 layers. I could build this significantly higher up, because, as mentioned, we only need to be about 20 blocks away from our little sitting point up there. But if I build this much higher, you're pretty much going to be able to see it from any part of the island, and I don't know, I kind of don't like that from, like, a aesthetic kind of point of view, and to be perfectly honest, this thing does not need to be much in the way of, like, super efficient, so there's that. I actually do think I might make a few tweaks to this, just sort of off camera. You can kind of hear them. The spider problem has magnified as we have given it more space, and I think there's a slight problem with, like, about here, which is right before the pit drop, which apparently evidently counts as being 6 blocks away from the cats, so creepers that spawn there, most usually, don't try to flee at all, they just sit there until they despawn, There was actually a bug with the server at one point when I built the original layer of this. We have a anti-lag system on the server called Lithium, and there was a bug with the way that Lithium modified how entities track entities in their vicinity, which is meant to just sort of reduce calls and reduce lag and all that sort of stuff. But what it also did was that it made creepers basically completely ignore cats entirely. So the initial run of this, with just the one layer, basically you had to just wait and hope that any creepers that spawned would accidentally wander into the pits. Thankfully, that bug got fixed fairly quickly, and then we actually got some decent rates, but it still took about a night, like about 4 hours, which is more or less the time between restarts on the server, to get about 9 stacks or so of gunpowder. So it was still the best way on the server, because it was completely AFK, totally hands-free, but not that great. But fortunately, now, with the full 8 tiers, we got about this whole much here, basically the better part of an entire chest worth, in about 20 minutes. About half an hour or so, give or take. So I think we're getting about 2,300 gunpowder per hour with just these 8 tiers. Now that is, like, provided I am actually stood up there and nobody else is on the server. Right now we have a few free people, but it works nonetheless. Also, I should introduce our cats here. So these two have been instrumental in constructing this entire thing. So here we have Penny, and here we have Dreadful. They're very cute, but they're kind of pains in the neck. Nonetheless, so, yeah, if I stand up here, we should still get some spawns, even with 3 other people on the server. I should probably explain why I've somehow jumped to 15 deaths, shouldn't I? Okay, well, one of those was because server lag made my elytra fail to open up when I took a significantly large jump. So, yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, there we go, it's working. But, after that, I was just sort of out roaming looking for some materials. I think I might have visited, like, somebody for something. I can't remember what exactly. That part is relatively irrelevant. But, in the course of that, I encountered a pillager patrol. And they attacked me first, so in self-defense, I slaughtered them all. And that included some dude with a banner on his back, which looks really hokey. Like, dude looks like he should have been part of the Winged Hussars. But evidently that meant that they then put a, like, bounty on my head, because what happened next was that I flew home to pick up some food, and a raid started around our pumpkin farm. Now, unfortunately, this was entirely off camera. I don't have any footage of this of any kind, so you more or less just gonna have to take my word for it. But it involves, I immediately flew away from our island, landed on a small spit of land to the east, I think, and put out a call to whomever was online, which ended up being Sneaky and George, both of whom are currently online, bottom 2 there, and they, made their way over, and they helped me to fend off the raid without anybody dying, thanks Smeg. Or a Ravager going right through the pumpkin farm, which also wouldn't have been pleasant. But the cost of that was that pretty much I died a couple of times, and also it burned through pretty much all of the, totems of undying that we were getting from that. I think one of them managed it because I died before it could go off or something. But, yeah, that was a fright indeed. So yeah, we're about 4 people online. It looks like it's getting about the same rate of gunpowder output as when we had just the 1 tier, but because there's a lot more space, those gunpowders are coming out of significantly more creepers, so hey, there's that. I do like a good solid state machine in Minecraft. It's always fun, because you don't need to worry about anything triggering at the right speed or in the right, sequence. It's just, you stick a cat in there and creepers will spawn and run from it, that's it. It's very, very effective, very efficient. But we are going to have to figure out sugarcane. Now, sugarcane, I think we have largely, I think it's so old that it's pretty much a solved problem. Like, the design we have over there is basically the highest of efficiency. It's just we need to make more of it. And I think for actually, getting more sugarcane with our gunpowder, we probably want to be moving our sugarcane farm over to here. In which case, I might make it underground, or I might have some at least in the wild around the edges here. just for decor. We are going to be, obviously, prettying this up quite considerably. A large stone bow tie sitting on an island just off my coast is not exactly a wonderful sight. But yeah, and we'll probably do some terraforming around here, make it look prettier as well, and get rid of all of these torches, because this place glows in the dark, and that's not really a great look. Especially next to our island over here. But that we will be doing in the next episode, because I promised we're gonna do it. We're gonna work on the cottage. So that includes adding a roof, and I think maybe adding a bit more shape to the top layer, so it's not just a complete replica of the bottom layer. What am I talking about with layers? They're floors. Floors, lying. These are floors. But anyways, let's get to work and make this place a lot prettier. So, one more time lapse for the day. And there we have it. Now, there's still quite a bit more to add to this, I think. I'd like to have some actual, like, content, as it were, up on the porch. All of the rooms still need full decoration and such. I did bring Penny and Dreadful over here. And there's a lot more greenery, I think, that needs to go around. I'd like this to look a little bit on the overgrown side, because a good, like, a good classical model of an English cottage always looks a little bit like it's being overtaken by nature, and I like that look. That's a good aesthetic for me, and if it means that I have to put a bunch of string or just occasionally come around and just, like, shear some stuff off it, then fine, I will eat that requirement. But it's looking pretty good. I like it. I hope you guys enjoyed the time-lapse of that. So, yeah, that's looking good. I'm not 100% certain if I want to keep the diorite as is. The diorite looks good, because you get a lot of like, classic English cottages you tend to see have white walls. And I didn't really want to use concrete because it has less of a border, but it also has way less texture to it. And I couldn't really find anything that blends sufficiently with the diorite to, like, really work as well. But we do have some little pieces in the... Is there a place I can jump up here? I don't think there is. Okay, let me just... It'll do. I'll remember it. So yeah, I did add some visual noise to the roof here. You can see we're just using some regular andesite, some stone, and even some stone brick, because those are all very grey textures that blend quite nicely together, but just still break up the pattern a little bit. And generally speaking, when you want to use the same material a lot, you really want to make sure that you're actually breaking it up and giving some variety and diversity, because otherwise it just becomes a sort of, like, monotonous mesh, and that's not so great. Another thing I added, of course, with these little shutters. These only really work on 2x2 or smaller, I guess, narrower windows. I can't really have those over here because they would be... There's no visual, like, implication that they could cover the whole window in that case. I can't have a 1.5 one here, for instance. But I can have them both over here next to my bedroom, which is a little smaller now, but I think it works out okay. I maybe should bring this roofing down a little more, but it's decent enough look. If this place looks semi-abandoned, I'm kind of okay with that as well. But there we have it. Just looking all nice. Bit of a deviation from the grinder, but still looking pretty good. Try to add a spot of color with these doorways here. I don't know that I've managed it entirely. I think I need, like, maybe some yellow in there as well. But it makes the place look very nice. And, yeah, the porch really adds a lot to this window. Excuse me, just dying slightly. So, yeah, and I think maybe over here we could turn this into a little pond. Just, like, yeah, just little, like, nice, beautiful details to add in the vicinity of our little homestead. And, I guess now I should start actually moving my stuff in. But, just before we close off for the day, going to quickly pop back over to the Gunpowder Farm. There's been a little bit more work down here around the bottom. I have narrowed down the edges a bit more, so now we still have the spider problem, but any creepers that actually spawn will just happily dive off the edge immediately. They don't care too much. And over here, we have our sugarcane farm. It looks very much similar to how we've had it before, except I noticed with the other one on the small scale that we had, it was like 4, 5, or 6, I think, pieces. We had the hoppers around about where these stone blocks are here. And I noticed in the course of a few sort of like AFK sessions that I would keep, A, picking up a bunch of it, meaning it didn't fall into the hoppers, and B, it would fall onto the actual grass and such that the sugarcane was on. So, instead, you can just hear them down here. Let's see, it should be bad. Yep, there you are. So here we have a minecart track on top of hoppers with a hopper minecart, and that allows us to actually grab items through solid blocks. So with that, we're actually able to ensure that we get 100% of what comes out of these. And obviously they're also bigger, but we're getting there. We're getting there. You really, really need a very, very big sugarcane farm for it to actually get massive, significant gains. But, yeah, the cat-powered rocket factory appears to be working now. And, yeah, definitely gonna have to set up a store for all of our gunpowder over at spawn. Now, 24 diamonds is what Drad left behind. And I initially suspected that was for an entire stack. And even then, I would have considered that to be an excessive price. He then later told me that in fact this was for half a stack of diamonds. So that's even worse. That's almost a 1-to-1. And I feel like for gunpowder, a more reasonable costing would be 1 diamond to 8 gunpowder. Especially because then we can say that for a diamond block, which is 9 diamonds, we can actually have like a stack of duration-free firework rockets, which would be a really good deal, come to think of it. So 9 to 8 is just more than a stack. A stack will get you, like, not quite at that. I think it'll get you like 63 rockets, but plus the paper, I think that's a decent. I think that's a decent costing. I may have to do some more numbers on it because, come to think of it, that might actually be really underpricing. Not 100% certain, but yeah. So that's what we're gonna try and do in next episode over at Spawn, building ourselves a nice little gunpowder store. That's gonna be interesting to do. I don't know if I've ever built something like that, but if we do that fast enough, we'll be the premier source of gunpowder and rockets on the server. So that'll be a good little lucrative enterprise, I think. And maybe I'll try and figure out a way to get rid of these spiders in here, but yeah. Anyways, that is all that we have for today. I hope you've all enjoyed, especially with the double time lapse, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. Wait. Stop. Do you hear that? That creeping, crawling noise. That dripping like the sound of blood spilling from an open wound. It's the sound of my Patreon, and if you want to outrun whatever is making that noise, as well as grab some fun benefits, head over to patreon.com/lying.